Good morning, friends. We have been talking about Aristotle's views on poetry and especially tragedy with reference to his very famous book, Poetics, work, I can say. Instead of calling it a book, rather, we should call it a work. His famous work, Poetics. During our last few lectures, we talked about his definition of tragedy, characteristics of tragedy, and in the previous lecture, we talked about this concept of the ideal tragic hero. Now we shall go ahead with some other views of Aristotle regarding tragedy and regarding drama in general, we can say. Aristotle, while talking about the structure of the tragedy, talks about the three unities, which are very relevant, very important in understanding tragedy or any kind of drama or any kind of work, we can say literary work. So understanding these unities is very important. So Aristotle formulated three unities, or they can be alternatively called rules. These rules are for how to make a perfect tragedy. So he refers to three unities, namely the unity of action, the unity of time, and the unity of place. So these are the three unities. Means the playwright, the dramatist should take into consideration these three unities. By the first unity, which he calls the unity of action, he refers to as the unity of action. By this, he means that a play should have one single plot or action to sustain the interest of the spectators. And it can also lead him to a proper purgation. We are going to talk about these three unities separately, but for the time being, let's try to understand what he means by these three unities in brief. So by the unity of action, he says a play should have one single plot. There should not be multiple plots or action. And what is the purpose? Why should it have only one single plot? It should be there to sustain, to hold the interest of the spectators. Spectators means audience or readers. Spectators, the literal meaning is audience, those who watch the drama, okay? Audience present in the theater. To sustain their interest means to hold their interest. There should be a single plot. And further, this plot, single plot, can lead the dramatist to proper purgation. That is the ultimate function of tragedy, purgation. Purgation means purification of heart, purification of thoughts, purification of mind. Okay, means the audience, the spectators should undergo this process of emotional purification. The emotion should get purified. Means all bad thinking, bad qualities should get removed from their mind. Secondly, he talks about the unity of time. So by this he refers to the action in a play, and he says that the action in a play should not exceed the single revolution of the sun. Look, by the unity of action, he says that there should be one single plot or action. Secondly, by the unity of time, he says the action in the play should not exceed, should not cross. Exceed means cross. What? The single revolution of the sun. Now, the single revolution means sunrise to sunset, that is the revolution. It should not cross that limit. Okay, means it should follow time as well. We shall discuss it again in detail. And thirdly, he talks about the unity of place. By this, he means a play should cover a single physical space and should not attempt to compress geography, and nor should the stage represent more than one place. Means the action should take place at one place. There should not be multiple places. Okay, this is what he says by these three unities. Now let's try to understand them one by one separately. So I said that the unity of action refers to the plot of the play. There should be one single plot or action, and that should follow one main plot line. There can be, of course, some subplots as well, but the main plot should be only one. There should not be two main plots. If there is only one plot, that is okay, acceptable. And if the writer, the playwright, wants to introduce subplots, other plots, but they should be subplots. Subplots should be related to the main plot. If there are subplots in the play, they should contribute in one way to the main plot. I just now mentioned. Means they should not be different from the main plot. They should not be unrelated plots. You are well familiar with the word plot now. We have already talked about the 6 formative elements of the tragedy. Then time we talked about the first and most important formative element is the plot. The plot is the arrangement of actions or events. So if there are subplots, sub-stories, they should be related to the main story. They should contribute to the development of the main plot, we can say. And Aristotle saw that eliminating any extraneous plottiness or action helped focus the play on the essential and most important story being told. Elimination means what? Removing, means not adding other plots is beneficial. Not adding extra or extraneous means additional plots is always better for the effective development of the main plot. Now you can take the example of Arthur Miller's American dramatist, The Death of Salesman. It does not have other subplots. It has only one main plot. It centers around the protagonist story, the salesman. Okay. Then the Waiting for another play by, you might be knowing, Samuel Beckett's The Waiting for Godot. Not the, I'm sorry for that, it is Waiting for Godot. In Waiting for Godot as well, there is only one plot, main plot. There are no subplots at all. So this is how the unity of action can be followed. Means by unity of action, Aristotle means in the unity of, the use of one plot. And if there are subplots, they should be related to the main plot. They should contribute to the development of the main plot. Then we talked about the unity of time. The unity of time refers to the action, as I mentioned earlier, action of the play. And I said that you should follow the revolution of the sun. Means it should take place within a 24-hour time period. In those days, that was the requirement of tragedy. Means limiting the action in the play is like giving yourself, as a dramatist, as a writer, a time limit by which to resolve your story. So it's like a timer you set up that helps you move the story along to an effective revolution. Now you can take the example of A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. It follows the unity of time. Of course, it is very difficult to follow. Means nothing can happen in 24 hours time period. It requires more. There can be stories about life itself. So, but ideally, he says, of course, ideally it should restrict itself to a time of 24 hours. That's what Aristotle feels. Now, you should keep in your mind that I'm talking about Aristotle's views. Theory is a kind of guideline. Whether it is followed or not, that is again a matter of study, a matter of research. So we can understand by reading the story if the writer has followed this unity of time or not. Further, he refers to the unity of place. It refers to the action of the play which should take place in one location, in a single physical space. Means the stage should not represent more than one place at the same time, nor utilize scene changes to change the setting of the action. That was Aristotle's insistence. Now, what if there is a transition period? So the transition period in which the stage must be transformed from one place into another causes an interruption in the action, flow, and pacing of the story. Now, you should understand these views with reference to the Greek time period. In those days, modern technology was not available. So it wasn't easy to change the scene. It wasn't easy to change the place. How should one show different places at a time? That was the problem. Okay, if you watch certain ancient plays, you will come across this kind of, this kind of unity of time, place. Means if we try to change the scenes every now and then the location every now and then, that will cause an interruption in the arrangement of the stage itself. That will disturb the action flow of storyline, you can say. So audience may be pulled out of the story. Now, for example, Henrik Ibsen's Doll's House and Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot follow this particular unity of place principle suggested by Aristotle. So this is how we understand these three unities being talked about Aristotle regarding the unity of what you call three unities, we can say, three unities being talked about Aristotle.